Everywhere Man. It is an odd thing, but everyone who disappears is said to be seen at San Francisco. It must be a delightful city and possess all the attractions of the next world. Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. It was a year ago today we discovered the Everywhere Man. We located him by accident well into our project schedule. We were developing a virtual interactive cable car ride that could be experienced across the internet. Our software resided on a server farm that knitted together in real time a collage of photographs, creating a lifelike San Francisco seen from a cable car. Our servers produced a quilt of visual scraps that rolled past the user at a gentle 9.5 miles per hour. When we were finished, anyone in the world would be able to ride a cable car and see San Francisco without leaving his or her home or office. We produced this ride by processing every photograph on the internet taken of San Francisco. Tourists and residents have been posting digital photos on the internet for a decade and a half now. With the Digital Fair Use Act of 2012 passed into law, we can now utilize them freely in our ride. The photos were often tagged with the geographic location of the exposure, or with keywords that could be parsed into approximate locations. Early on, we considered using video as well, but we learned that even the most crooked amateur photograph can be corrected more easily than the blurry, shaky videos tourists produce. And with 200 million photographs of San Francisco available to us, we had plenty of source material. We spotted him in an early test. At that point, our cable car was nothing more than a neon green wireframe box hovering between Union Square's department stores and boutiques. A headless man stood on the corner of Geary and Powell, not far from Macy's. He was headless because, although 18 people in the cable car had snapped their cameras in roughly the same direction, none of them had captured him fully. Our servers stitched those 18 photos together with 2,500 more taken at that intersection over the past 15 years. No matter the angle of those 18 distinct photographs, the man was always partially hidden. In one, he was obscured by the crook of a woman's arm. In another, the cable car's handrail hid most of his face. His rounded shoulders were slumped forward, and his spine was curved in a question mark, as though he'd been worn down by millennia of gravity and erosion. His hands dangled at his sides like plumb bobs seeking true. Nobody had captured his face. What struck us the most was that none of the photographs were taken on the same day. He stood on the corner of Geary and Powell 18 times over 15 years, wearing nearly the same clothes and bearing the same slump in his form, as though he'd made a hobby out of posing for the writers. How weird, we agreed. At least he could wave. We chuckled at him until it dawned on us that his face was the only unrendered portion of the scene. Every other aspect of Union Square was depicted in full detail. We could zoom in on the Apple billboard and see the Levi's store across the square, and even make out the array of gold necklaces under the light in a jewelry store box window. Yet this odd man's hidden face gouged a hole in our ornately constructed perfection. This would not do. We would debug this man from our world.